Hello and welcome to Geology, a channel dedicated to biology or the study of life. Have you ever wondered why do you get a thumping heartbeat or a tense feeling, a shivering or a dry mouth when you have to do a public speaking? Or have you ever wondered why some people are asked to refrain from eating sugar? Is there something or some system which controls the growth of the body? Why are some people giants and some people dwarfs? Well, to answer all of these questions, we need to study about the endocrine system, or the system that deals with release of hormones into the body. So that is what we are going to talk about in this video today. But before I go in depth into the topic, let me tell you that this video is useful for standard 10 students of both CBSE and ICSE boards. However, for the ICSE board students, you will have to go to the second part of the video as well, where we are going to deal with the adrenal glands and the pancreas and your the thyroid and pituitary in more details to cover the portion in your syllabus. Now let's begin. What is endocrine system? Now, endocrine system is a system which, along with the nervous system, is responsible for control and coordination of the body. To understand endocrine system, you have to know about hormones and about endocrine glands. Let's take each one. What are hormones? A hormone is a secretion. It is a chemical which is secreted by the endocrine gland. It is poured directly into the blood, and it acts on a target organ or a cell which is away from its site of origin, and thereby it brings about growth and coordination between distant parts of the body, that is, parts of the body which are far away from one another. To know a little more about the hormones, these are always secreted in very small amounts and they are directly poured into the blood. So it is the blood circulatory system which carries the hormones from their point of origin or from the endocrine gland which releases it to the target organ. Now, target organ is the organ on which the hormones specifically act upon. So since the hormones are acting at a site which is different from the site of origin, they are also known as chemical messengers. Now, hormones coordinate various activities of the body and also its growth. A particular hormone, when produced in a species, has similar effect in other species as well. For example, if thyroxine is produced in humans and any other organism as well, it has the same effect that it has on humans. That is, it deals with the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins and fats in humans as well as in any other organisms where it is present. Now, chemically, some hormones are peptides, for example, insulin, and some could be amines, that is derived out of amino acids, for example, adrenaline, and some could be steroids like testosterone. Now, the steroids are lipid soluble, while the others like peptides and amines are water soluble. Hormones cannot be stored in the body and they are excreted from the system if they are not used. Now, if a hormone is produced in excess quantity or it is produced in lower quantity, both of these are have serious consequences on the body and they lead to certain disorders. Now let's come to glands. Glands are a group of cells or tissues which have some secretory cells in them. That is, they are able to secrete substances in the body. Now, glands can be of two types, exocrine glands and endocrine glands. Exocrine glands are those which release their secretions or their products into a tube or a duct, For example, salivary glands, which secrete saliva into the tube and that then deposits it into the mouth. Endocrine glands, on the other hand, are ductless glands. That is, they do not have ducts, which means that whenever an endocrine gland is secreting its product, it is secreted directly into the blood. Examples of endocrine glands are the hormones, the glands which produce hormones, which are released directly into the blood. Okay. Now let's look at each of these endocrine glands, their locations, what hormones they produce, and what is their function. To start with, the first one on the top is the pineal gland, which is in the brain. And pineal gland is responsible for secreting melatonin, and melatonin is responsible for managing our sleep and wake cycle. Pineal gland doesn't have any other major function, and it is also considered as a vestigial gland. Coming further is hypothalamus, which is also located in the brain, and hypothalamus is responsible for releasing the two types of hormones. One is called releasing hormones and the other is called inhibiting hormones. With the help of these releasing and inhibiting hormones, hypothalamus controls the pituitary and it regulates the secretion of hormones from pituitary. Now, pituitary gland is also known as the master gland. It is present just below the brain and it produces quite a few hormones, almost 9 of them. So some of these hormones in the pituitary gland, they control the activity of other endocrine glands and they tell those glands whether to make or stop the production of hormones. Apart from that, pituitary gland produces growth hormone, which regulates the growth and development of mainly the skeletal system, the bones and the muscles. So if the growth hormone is produced in excess in childhood, it can lead to making a person giant, whereas if the growth hormone is produced in lower quantity in the childhood, it can make a person become a dwarf. In adulthood, if growth hormone is produced in excess, then it can lead to a condition known as acromegaly. Coming further down, near the throat, attached to the throat is the thyroid gland, which secretes thyroxine. Thyroxine is very, very important because it controls the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And its deficiency can lead to various kinds of problems, one of which is goiter, where the neck swells and the thyroxine production is less. Thyroxine contains iodine in it, thus iodine deficiency can cause goiter. There are other problems also which can happen if the thyroid gland is not functioning properly. We will see those in details in my subsequent video. Then let's look at parathyroid hormones. These are 4 small glands which are embedded inside the thyroid gland, or they are embedded in the thyroid gland. And the hormone they produce is known as parathormone. Parathormone regulates calcium and phosphate levels in the body. Further coming down to the chest, below the throat and below the lower part of the neck and upper part of the chest is the thymus gland. Thymus gland produces thymus hormones, which again plays an important role in the development of the immune system because it helps in the production of lymphocytes. If you remember, when we studied lymph, we studied about lymphocytes. These are cells which are present in lymph nodes which help in cleaning up the lymph. By cleaning up the dead tissues and the bacteria, viruses, etc., which are there in the lymph. The next one is again a very special one, which is pancreas. Pancreas is unique because it acts both as an endocrine as well as an exocrine gland. Pancreas is present below the stomach, and as an exocrine gland, we have studied about pancreas in the digestive system, where it releases pancreatic juice, which contains a lot of enzymes for digestion. Here, we are going to look at pancreas as an endocrine gland, uh, where it produces a very important hormone called insulin. Now, many of us would have heard about people or met people who have a sugar problem, they say, which is diabetes. So, insulin controls the metabolism of sugar, and when insulin production is less in the body, then the sugar levels rise because the metabolism of sugar is not happening properly. Sugar can be found in the blood and also sometimes in the urine. So this condition is known as diabetes, and the person is called diabetic. As a treatment, insulin injections are also given to a person. Now, if insulin is present in more quantities in the body, it can also lead to a state of coma. We will study about pancreas also in the part 2 video. So do remember to go back and check the part 2 video, where you can find all the other information about these glands, the hormones, and also what happens in case of hypo or hypersecretion. Next, let's look at the adrenal glands or the glands of emergency. These are 2 in numbers and are located on top of the kidney. They produce a hormone called adrenaline, which is also known as the fight or flight hormone. All of this is because in a normal scenario, adrenaline is produced in very small quantities. But when we are in a state of emergency or in a situation where we are very excited or we are very tensed or afraid, then the body produces a lot of adrenaline. Adrenaline normally regulates the heartbeat, it controls the blood pressure and carbohydrate metabolism. But when produced in a lot of quantity, at that time, adrenaline speeds up the heart rate, it raises the blood pressure, and it ensures that there is more glucose which is provided to the blood, so that a lot of energy can be obtained by its metabolism for either fighting the situation or flight, that is running away from this situation. We have a lot more about adrenaline in my next video, so do remember to go and have a look at that as well. The next ones are the testes and the ovaries. These are gender specific. Testes is present only in males, while ovaries are present only in females. These are 2 in number each, and testes produces testosterone, which is a male hormone responsible for controlling features like deepening of voice, growth of beard and mustaches, and other changes related to the puberty. And it also controls the development of male sex organs and male features. The next one is ovaries, which is present in women. Ovaries produce 2 kinds of hormones. One is estrogen, then the other is progesterone. Estrogen is responsible for development of secondary sexual, female sexual characteristics, and also the development of the female sex organs, while progesterone controls the uterus and the uterine changes throughout this menstrual cycle, and it also helps in the maintenance of pregnancy. We have seen so far that the hormones need to be in very precise quantities. If there is a hypersecretion or a hyposecretion, both of which can have serious effects in the body. So how is it that the body knows how to regulate the quantity of hormone production. So what the body has is basically known as a feedback mechanism, and this helps to keep the hormonal balance in control, and it does so by controlling the timing and the amount of hormones released in the body. So increased or decreased hormone concentration in the body gives a kind of feedback uh, which either stimulates or inhibits the further secretion of the hormone. So this is known as the feedback mechanism. So there are two types of feedback mechanisms. One is positive and the other is negative feedback mechanism. So positive feedback mechanism stimulates and increases the promotion secretion of hormones, and negative feedback stops or inhibits the hormone from being produced. Let's look at it with the help of some examples. So if we take insulin, now suppose there is a lot of sugar after eating food. If there is a lot of sugar in the system already, or in the blood, the pancreas detects that there is more glucose in the blood, so it releases insulin into the bloodstream. Now insulin helps the glucose to move into the cells and turns it into glycogen in the liver and muscle cells, so because of which the sugar concentration in the blood decreases. Now, because of this decrease, the pancreas detects that the amount of glucose in the blood is very low, and thus it releases glucagon into the blood mainstream, into the bloodstream. So glucagon converts the glycogen back into glucose and releases it into the bloodstream to further bring the sugar level to normalcy. So this side is the positive feedback, while this side is the negative feedback. Now let's see another example, that of thyroxine. We know that the hypothalamus in the brain produces releasing and inhibiting hormones. Now, in this case of thyroxine, the hypothalamus secretes a hormone known as thyroid releasing hormone. Now, this thyroid releasing hormone TRH, it stimulates the anterior pituitary to release TSH. TSH is the thyroid stimulating hormone, which acts on the thyroid and stimulates the thyroid gland to produce thyroxine. Now, when there is a higher quantity of thyroxine available in the system, the anterior pituitary gets a feedback, that is a negative feedback mechanism comes into play, and it inhibits the release of TSH, or the thyroid stimulating hormone. And also even the hypothalamus of the brain as well detects the excess of thyroid hormones, and thus it also receives the negative feedback, and negative feedback mechanism inhibits the release of the TRH, or the thyroid releasing hormone. So this is how the normal level of thyroxine is maintained in the body. Now we have said that both nervous system and endocrine system together does the coordination and control in the body. But what are the major differences between the two systems? If we have to pinpoint and say, then the nervous system is made up of neurons, or neurons are the basic unit of the nervous system, whereas in case of endocrine system, it is the secretory cells. And nervous systems, the messages are transmitted in the form of electrical impulses, whereas in case of endocrine system, the messages are transmitted in the form of chemicals known as hormones. So in case of nervous system, these messages are transmitted through the nerve fibers, whereas in case of endocrine system, since the hormones are released directly into the blood, it is the blood circulatory system, or the bloodstream, which transmits the messages. In case of nervous system, the messages act very quickly, whereas in case of endocrine system, they are more slow. When we say this, for example, if we have to, if the brain has to instruct the leg to run, it just takes a fraction of a second for the brain to tell the legs, and the legs would start running. And when the brain tells it to stop, it stops. Whereas in case of endocrine system, the information is, it acts upon it very slowly. So the hormones get released in the body, and then they go to the target cells, and then they act upon it. So it's a much more slower process. Now, in case of nervous system, the effect of the nervous system, the effect of the messages sent by the nervous system is usually for a very short while. So if the brain instructs the legs to run, they would run only till the time the brain wants it to run. Thereafter, we will again start walking or sitting or resting. Whereas in case of endocrine system, the effect of the messages are much more longer. So if a person has excess of growth hormone and the person develops into a giant, that is a long time effect, and sometimes it's even irreversible effect. So these are the major differences between the nervous system and the endocrine system. I hope students from both ICSE and CBSE have found value in this video. For the ICSE students, I would highly recommend that you please visit the second part as well, where you will find all the other information covered which is there in your syllabus. And of course, the CBSE students can also go through it for additional information. But for the ICSE students, I would say that is almost mandatory that you visit the second video as well. And if you have any questions or doubts or clarifications, please feel free to write them in the comment section. Also, do let us know your feedback about the videos. This will help me to create more videos which are more directly useful to you. So with that, I'll close it for today. Thank you so much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.